What's up everybody and welcome to this week's What's on Kickstarter. Today we're going to be checking out some of the great, good, and not so good decks recently released on the platform, as well as some really fun campaigns from outside the playing card world. Steve, how you doing today, man? You ready to jump into some really awesome campaigns?
I am excited. I look forward to this segment every week.
It's always fun to check out. Honestly, it's always interesting to see how many decks make it onto the platform every week. Sometimes there's a ton. I'd say we're actually still at a pretty healthy average amount this week, which was surprising. I thought we would have seen a bit more of a dip getting closer to the holidays, but I think next week we'll start seeing things dropping off a bit.
Yeah, I'm surprised actually. There's still, quite a good amount coming out.
It really...
Yeah. Like you said, hopefully next week they slow down.
Yeah, it really is kind of surprising, so we'll definitely have to check it out. Ready to jump into it, man? Let's do it. So coming in for this week's first great campaign, we have the Spectacle playing cards by Jay Sankey. So this is actually a collaboration between Jay Sankey, Kier Gomes, and our absolute favorite science teacher, Mr. Nick Nisko. This has been teased for a bit now on Instagram, and I have to say, I really like the fact that they did a great job marketing this deck. Between Kier and Jay, who have a great YouTube presence, and Nick, who really has done some great campaign work in the past, they did a really fun job putting this together, teasing it, doing live events around it, and building up a lot of hype. So seeing it finally come to fruition here has just been really anticipated. Love the fact that they dive into a great story from the jump, talking about Jay and his, lifetime in Magic, we'll call it at this point. I love this little line here. Remember Magic in the 1980s? Jay does. Absolutely made me laugh the second I saw it. Absolutely hilarious. And I think that's one of the great things about this campaign is it really draws you in. It really kind of builds that emotional connection there.
Yeah.
Some of the other things that stand out with it too, while it is a great campaign, I would have liked to see some of the more stylized image-based headers on each section. I always think that helps draw the eye. They did a great job, though, putting together the textual side of it in comparison to the images, so you never have too much text or too many images on one portion of the campaign, which I think is actually a really nice touch there as well.
Yeah, I would definitely like to see some stylized headers for sure.
Yeah, I think it adds a little bit of a cleaner look to the campaign itself. The other thing that I really dig is the story behind, Jay having drawn all of the cards and then Nick designing the marking system. It's really a truly collaborative effort for this deck, which I think is awesome. The other thing that really stood out to us, I think, on this one, though, that would help a lot to build out the breadth and kind of depth of this campaign is pictures of the cards. While it is probably a relatively standard deck, it's nice to kind of see that, even if it's in like a kind of a condensed, uncut sheet view, something along those lines. You see these cool little aspects here, these sunglasses on the relatively standard courts there. Seeing a little bit more of that than just the three would have kind of, I think, helped sell a lot more of the magician aspect of this deck and the fun aspect of this deck, because I do think that's a big selling point there.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And then you get into the gaff cards here. The one other thing I would say is bringing this up to the top here as a formalized feature section would be absolutely great. You probably pull the parentheses off of Jay's fulfillment there, but that's a little bit nitpicking on it. But I really think this campaign has a lot of room to grow within that great space, though it does hit on all those key aspects we're always looking for a great campaign.
Yeah, what's the price on it?
You're looking at 22 shipped on this one.
Yeah. Just a little tad over that price we like to see around 2021 shipped, but
and an interesting thing about that too, and one of the things I'm curious on, $8 in the US, depending, could be if Jay's shipping out of Canada versus out of the US, that could have an impact on the shipping price, but it would be good to know, and I think, if you are going to be self-fulfilling, one of the best things about a campaign is it gives you the opportunity to kind of explain that you've done fulfillment in the past, that you know what you're doing, or you've outsourced to a reliable service. It very well could be that Jay's fulfillment is a white labeled version of another fulfillment service. It could be that he's doing it himself out of his home, and it kind of helping to add that in can help justify price increases, even if it's only $1 or $2 here or there. So something to keep in mind as well. Yep. Love the images on this one. Really nicely done, but yeah, good luck. But before we jump into this week's first good campaign, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel.
And please ring the bell.
So, taking a look at this week's first good campaign, we have the Twisted Artistry Playing Cards Casino Editions. So I gotta say, at first glance, this actually is a great campaign. Throwing it right out there, it's got a reasonable goal for 3 decks plus gilded editions. It touches on all of the points, who's printing, who's fulfilling. The toughest part about this campaign, and I think what really solidly puts it into that good camp, this is a very confusing campaign. There's a lot of information, and it's really not structured in a way that flows well. So unless you're looking at a single part, I mean, I think for me to fully comprehend everything going on in this campaign, I'd have to sit down for 30 minutes and really parse through all of it. And I think a lot of times with a campaign, you want to make sure that people can catch everything they need to on the fly.
Yeah, and they want to be able to do it in succession, like the order of everything. You know, even if you look at the very first heading, it says the story, and it's not the story. It's 2 pictures of the decks, you know, and then you go down and it's the overview, and then comes the story, which is the introduction. So it's just out of sync.
I would definitely say that this whole introduction section could probably be cleanly split between these 2 images, maybe throw a 3rd image there to break it up a little bit, and you now take this whole long 2 paragraphs and make it a little more flowy. You know, image, little bit of text, image, little bit of text, another image, helps set a cadence to it, allows for quick scrolling through. The other thing I will say, while there is formatting option in Kickstarter, there is sometimes not enough formatting. There's also too much formatting sometimes. The one thing that stands out to me on this one, there's a lot of bold, there's a lot of italics, there's a lot of brackets, there's a lot of symbols in here, and all that really does is draw your eye to those specific sections, but at the end of the day, that doesn't necessarily draw it to the right section. So for me, just taking a quick look at this Premium Casino Edition one, full bleed red back design using premium metallic inks. That is the primary point of this bullet point here. But then you look at will be upgraded to cold foil at no cost to backers when stretch goal is hit. That is actually what draws your eye because it's bold and italicized and has those curly brackets around it. That's not what you actually want to be drawing the eye to. That should be a subsequent clean flow after the primary point, which is the full bleed red back design. So it's really important to consider where you're putting bold in, where you're italicizing, and what kind of symbols you're using to draw the eye, and if you're actually drawing the eye to the correct part.
Yeah, and it's just very, very wordy. And you can cut out half of that text in there and still get the point across of, you know, what you want to do.
A lot of the redundancy between the 3 decks. Remember to consolidate similar points. So if you have a features section and you're talking about, you can say all the decks and hit printed by Legends on Viper finish, which I think it's great that they include that there. You know, fulfilled by XYZ, metallic ink on the back design, stretch goal of foil. If that's on all of them, put all decks and then say red edition and highlight the points that are specific to the red edition, blue edition, holographic edition. That being said, you know, they really do have a great story built out here. They talk on the Legends playing cards printing. They talk about fulfillment. This, with proper planning around the flow and around the campaign itself, would hands down be a great campaign. But one of the biggest things with any campaign is you need to be able to have people understand what they're backing here. In addition to that, one of the things that stood out to me the most as well, this tier is huge. If all of this
for one deck.
If all of this information is just redundant from your campaign itself, throw in just the highlights. Throw in this include section, take out 90% of the caps because it's just very abrasive when you're trying to read. It actually causes fatigue when you read too much caps. So keep that in mind. You want people to not feel tired at the end of this, because if you're imparting someone feeling tired, they're going to impart that on the campaign. And then you're also potentially like psychologically talking someone out of backing this deck. If there's too much to read, people are going to step away from it, even if they love the idea of this. So taking out a lot of this redundancy here, single deck, one deck. I can see there's a fascination with curly brackets here, and while I'm okay with that, I also think it's maybe just a little too harsh for it. It feels like a hard stop in the reading of the text. I have to see why are there curly brackets there. That may be like the computer programmer and me wondering why there's curly brackets, but I think there's an aspect to it that, you know, the stylizing of this and the layout of it just make it hard to read and hard to follow.
Yeah, it looks, here's the thing, like it says right here also retails for 22 to 25. Like that's kind of, you know, I don't know if it's depending on which one you choose, if it hits a stretch goal. And then if you look down, if you look a little down on the pledge side, on the tier, it says, go up, right there, it says access to purchase all Gilded deck add-ons, access to buy Kickstarter Patreon exclusive blue V1 Gilded. I assume everyone's going to have that access because this is just a one deck tier. So if a one deck tier have access, I assume the rest of them do. So none of that information needs to be in there, and none of that. I mean, it's basically like you said, it's just redundant pulling from the features of 100%. The deck. So it's just.
With that said as well, the link to the video explaining the poker card, that's okay to have in all tiers, but you could also put that down somewhere in the campaign itself. You know, but like Steve said, that access aspect, if everyone has it available to them, then there's no access restriction. Yeah, I mean, there really is, you know, this campaign really, I think, touched on a lot of good parts taken from great campaigns, but it also goes to show that using great campaigns for a template doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have a great campaign, because you need to think about how it flows, how people feel about the deck. This is actually a really cool, clean looking deck. I love that back design and that borderless aspect to it. For me, like, I personally would probably back this deck, but if I wasn't sitting here rolling through this whole campaign, I'd be very confused as to what each tier gets.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't even know how many decks are included. Is it 3 decks?
It looks like 3 decks plus potentially gilded ones.
Is it with the gilded? So there's definitely a...
So there's, yeah, so there's Premium Casino, Elite, Premium Casino. So there are... there's 2 decks. There's 2 decks.
There's the blue,
so
red,
the red
and the
is the first edition. So that's included as an add-on because it's already been done.
The blue's the first
That's what
edition.
I just said, didn't I? Oh,
Right,
so yeah, I meant the blue. Yeah, so the blue is the first edition.
Oh, okay.
So that's more of an add-on. It's not necessarily an inclusive aspect of the campaign for funding purposes. So, so 4 decks technically if you include the gilded versions, and then if you expand it out to add-on decks, there's 6 decks total. So,
right on.
It really interesting, but like, the other thing, too, with it, you know, a quick nitpick here, it's always great to see this stuff. If you're going to start including add-ons, definitely include the images because it helps to visualize there. People always like to see what they could potentially get, especially because you have a engraved carrot case there. What's that going to look like? Certificate of authenticity. Can you show a quick picture of it? Things like that. Visuals help people a lot. So, yeah, really nicely done here. I'd also say make the logos a little cleaner on this aspect of it. That takes up a lot of space there for no reason. It almost feels like they're too big. Doing them in a single line may have been better. I don't know how easily that would have been able to do with Kickstarter, but something to consider there as well.
Yeah, or even just center them in the middle and make them a little smaller.
And so price point wise, we're looking at what for this one? Let me get to the top of the tiers. These tiers are so low.
Yeah,
we are looking at $23 shipped. So, you know what? A little bit high for the standard, but there's metallic ink included, so that's reasonable. You get to the point where there's cold foil in the back at no additional cost. 23 bucks shipped is a really good deal. Yeah, good luck.
Good luck.
And for this week's First Needs Help campaign, we have the Kingdom Hearts inspired playing cards. So I gotta say, there's actually several aspects to this campaign that jump out immediately. The first thing I will say is this campaign gets a big old beware because it is using copyrighted inspiration. Kingdom Hearts is a video game for PlayStation for anyone who has not played it or checked it out. Really interesting game if you're into that genre, but with that in mind, while it is okay to create fan art, it is not okay to make fan art for commercial purposes without licensing. So unless there is licensing on this deck, there is a very good chance that this is going to run into copyright issues either at some point during the campaign or during the printing process. So big old beware for that. That being said, we jump into it and we can see the story behind it. We see the cards themselves. One thing I would say is these headers could probably be shrunk down a lot and bring the card pictures up to the first section here, because ultimately that's what people care about the most. They want to see the cards. So smaller story header, little bit of text, picture of the cards, get into the cards header, again, make it a lot smaller, talk about who's going to be printing, and get into the images themselves. So you can see it's going to be printed by MPC on their superior smooth stock in gloss finish with holographic fronts and silver gilded edges.
Wow, that's expensive.
Yeah, that's going to be a very expensive deck. I've never actually even priced out the holographic printing through MPC because it's costly. More so,
it's like 35 to 50 bucks for one deck.
That's crazy. So with that in mind, like, you're actually better off going somewhere like Cardamundi or Legends and getting a larger print run at a lower per deck cost and selling it if possible. Again, the biggest concern here is the licensing issue with it, but if this is your artwork style, really interesting. Obviously, the campaign itself lacks a little bit of the number cards, the visuals. The story could be built out a little bit more. And honestly, a feature section would help as well, like who's going to be fulfilling the campaign, things along those lines.
Yeah, what's it come in? What's the price? See, it's like a 30 right there, but
$35
obviously,
ship.
So here's the thing: if you're buying, one deck holographic, it's $30 to $50, probably gilded. Who knows how much they charge? I don't know how much they charge for that. But if you're gonna, go with 1,000, you're gonna probably pay around, $10 to $15 a deck, depending.
Yeah,
But so I mean, $35, depending on, if right now is 13 back, is if she hits that $3,000 goal, chances are she might lose money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's yeah, I mean, I would definitely take it back to the drawing board, put those numbers out, and put a little higher goal in there.
And again, the big concern here mostly, though, is licensing around this. So reach out for licensing. At the end of the day, you could run this thing a million times and fund every single time. But if licensing is an issue here, you may be able to even print this through a company that doesn't check the trademark or copyright. But if you make money on this and they find, and the license holder finds out, you could be in court for money you made on this anytime within that statute of limitations, which varies by jurisdiction. So this is something, that's not legal advice there. But that being said, make sure you understand the licensing requirements around fan art. There are licensing requirements around fan art. It usually revolves around the idea of commercial use. This is 100% a commercial use. So
yeah,
good luck. And for another great campaign this week, we have the Endless Battle. Dude, I gotta say, this is actually one of the best campaigns we have seen in a very long time. You can see rolling through this, great features, great story, really visual campaign, nice motion to it, really well laid out. This, to me, would probably be a campaign that I would hold up as a potential template for someone who is looking to build a great campaign.
Yeah, it looks great. It's definitely colorful, too. I love that.
The artwork on this thing is really fun. Deck itself is just gorgeous. So
yeah, beautiful tuck box.
Yeah,
good job.
Very nicely done. Excited to see this thing already funded. Excited to see how far it runs. So good luck on this campaign.
Good luck.
And for another great campaign this week, we have the False Anchors V4 Deep Sea playing cards by False Anchors, aka Ryan Schlutz. Absolutely great looking campaign here. I gotta say, the artwork to me on this thing stands out more than anything. Really well put together campaign, but the visuals on this are just stunning.
It's super fun.
Dude, absolutely agree. And honestly, the interesting thing about it, I would like to see a little bit more text between some of these, but the colors on this just draw your eye in so much. And I think that's one of the interesting parts about building out a campaign with mobile in mind. You obviously don't want people scrolling too quickly through and not stopping, but some of the colors in this are just so eye-catching. I'd be stopping and scrolling back real quick to see what this all is. So that kind of works in its favor there, though I would say little bit of captions underneath it would never hurt to cause a little bit of a breakup there.
I love the artwork on it. It kind of reminds me of watercolor, but it's not.
Yeah, no, and I really love the fact that they included the artwork as potential tiers in here and add-on, so you can purchase the original artwork, which I always think is a great thing for these kind of campaigns where it really is art-driven.
Yeah.
Good luck. And for another good campaign this week, we have the Aurora playing cards Northern Lights. So I gotta say, this campaign really was on the cusp of being great. This is a relaunch done by Emily Slights 52. Really has all of the information there, printer fulfillment. Some of the stuff that just stands out to me on this one is I think it needs a lot more text in it. The images are there, the details are there for the most part, but build out that story, really tie it in between the cards, bring those pictures up so you don't have so much text up top. I think one of the biggest things that actually takes it from a great campaign to a good campaign is the goal. $2,000 goal is just extremely low. There's very likely a component of self-funding within this, and I think that's fine. We've never had any complaints about people who are self-funding campaigns, but it's very important to be transparent about that, especially because the original version of this campaign had like a $20,000 goal. So to see such a...
Yeah, I think it was like 18, 20,000.
So to see such a drastic reduction, actually touching on that is actually really beneficial and helps promote the transparency of the campaign and help build trust with the backers. So to me, that was a big standout there. Even dropping a quick line in it to be like, hey, like last goal was this, we dropped it to this. If we hit this goal and we need more, I'm planning on paying out of pocket or whatever it comes down to, especially because you touched on all of the aspects of what would actually, especially because you touched on all the aspects of the campaign that changed except for the goal. Yeah, so good luck on this one. Really excited to see it already funded. I think at that 5,800 mark, it's close to being break even, but definitely gonna need a little more push. So good luck. And for another Needs Help campaign this week, we have the Manibus Playing Cards Royal Edition. So this is actually a relaunch campaign as well. I really dig the back design. When we first saw this campaign, I actually really liked the deck. The interesting thing about it, the only thing I could tell that changed was they translated the entire campaign from German only to English only now. With that in mind, they really don't touch on important parts like who's going to be printing, who's going to be fulfilling, any other aspects of the deck. What do the cards look like other than the handful that we see here? So we basically get a sneak peek of 4 cards. I want to know what the deck's going to look like as a whole. That back design, to me, has so much potential. I really think that, I think that if this campaign was built out in a, a way that showed off the deck itself, they would easily be able to crush a goal here.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Good luck on it. And for another Needs Help campaign this week, we have the Ultimate Classic Playing Cards new design. So being
I've never seen.
Yeah, I know. Being a first created campaign, I'm not sure what the old design looks like. But that being said, it's an interesting kind of marketing tactic there. The Ultimate Playing Cards design. I personally, not a huge fan of the design itself. I like the cleanliness of a standard deck. It seems very, very artistic, which is fine. This may be someone's taste. The big things that stand out to this one as it needs help is there's just no information. Who's printing? Who's fulfilling? The cost itself is pretty expensive. There are actually several other aspects of it that stand out to me, which I'd almost slap a beware on this one for. That is basically a Miami, Florida location on it. If we go to the creator's location, you see Las Vegas, Nevada, and then ultimately the campaign is being run in Mexican pesos. So definitely a lot of disconnect there, which makes me a little bit uneasy as to where this campaign is actually being run. With that in mind, taking a look at this in general, though, it just seems very unfinished. While the campaign itself, or the deck itself, may actually have potential, the campaign itself needs to go back to the drawing board and really be fully fleshed out so people understand what it all looks like, what the backstory is, who's printing it, who's fulfilling it, all of those important parts. Those important parts. So good luck. And for another Needs Help campaign this week, we have the Hanafuda Playing Cards by Cameron Carlson. So this one actually almost hurts me to put into Needs Help because the artwork on this is so beautiful. Again, it falls into that Manibus category where, like, I really like this deck, but this definitely hits on what we see a lot of times in that Need Help category. Who's going to be printing it? Who's going to be fulfilling it? And what's really the information around this deck? They touch really on the aspects of how this is playable for Hanafuda and, just take out certain cards and all that, but talk more about the deck itself. What got you to this point? Why do you want to design it? I think there's a lot of potential with this deck because the artwork is absolutely beautiful, but without those key aspects of printing and fulfillment, you're not going to pull in as much of a crowd as you'd hope for with this.
Yeah.
Good luck. And for another Needs Help campaign this week, we have the Elysium set. So this is actually an interesting one. One of the biggest stands out for us on this one is the fact that it's, I don't want to say miscategorized, but not efficiently categorized as art. You really should, if you're doing a playing card deck, always try and put it in playing cards because it makes it easier to find. If people search playing cards in Kickstarter, this actually does not come up because of that category. The title, nor the subtitle, nor the category have the words playing cards in it, which means you're completely missing out on your target category for search for this campaign, which is going to be detrimental in the long run. You have 28 backers. This is a really interesting deck. You could have significantly more backers. I mean, look at that artwork.
Yeah, it's fun. The artwork is so much fun. It's a bridge-sized deck, though, for me.
In a plastic deck as well. And I think people would overlook the plastic, but the bridge size aspect of it, I think what this campaign really needs is to just do a little more research into the market you're trying to target here, because this artwork, breathtaking. No question about it.
Super
After
cool.
the fact, seeing these stickers, I'm going to go check out this artist and see what their previous work looks like, because this is gorgeous. But the campaign itself really needs a lot of work to draw it to the point where you can kind of make this feasible. The other interesting aside about this is I'm planning on going through the company that makes bicycle playing cards. So you're printing with USPCC but haven't named them and have a $3,000 goal. You are going to lose money on this campaign with that minimum 1,000 print run. That's just how it's going to go. With that in mind, please do your research because this deck has so much potential. I think so many people would love to see this as a poker-sized deck on bicycle stock or, B stock, whatever you go with. So good luck, but this definitely needs to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, I've never heard anybody printing a plastic deck at USPC.
Yeah, I think
I know they printed them because they've done them, but
there's probably less
I don't know if
expensive
they
options at
offer
the
it.
end of the day because you could do a smaller print run, you know?
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure.
Good luck on it.
Good luck.
Hopefully this one comes back with a better put together campaign because I really do dig the artwork on this one.
Yeah, agreed.
So Steve, the all-important question now this week, what are you planning on backing?
Oh, dude, it's a tough week. Let's go with you first.
All right, we can switch it
change
up a little bit.
I am. Yeah, because I'm still on the fence. So let me think.
I'm definitely on board for spectacles and false anchors, no question about it. Those are my two go-tos this week. I really want to say that I would back the Elysium and the Manibus playing cards because I love the decks. I think the artwork is gorgeous, but to me, without knowing who's printing, who's fulfilling, and all of those key details, they are a no-go for me right now. But if we saw a new campaign come from both of those with the pertinent information, no questions asked, I'd be on both of those. So now that you know mine, what about you?
I'm gonna say False Anchors 4. Deep Sea is definitely a go-to for me, and Endless Battle I think is really cool.
That was a really solid one too. Honestly, that campaign was top-notch.
And that blue color is just so sexy.
We've seen a lot of similar like colorways recently. I think that's the one thing that maybe turned me off a little bit about it was just the familiarity of the deck itself. But hands down, great campaign. That artwork is top notch.
Yeah, and I like that Elysium. If it was on a deck.
Yeah, that is a fun one, man. But as always, we always love to know what everyone out there is going to be backing this week. So make sure to drop a comment down below and let us know what decks caught your eye. So Steve,
you ready for some fun stuff?
I am so ready for some fun stuff this week, man. I think we have some really fun campaigns. These may be the most fun campaigns we've had to date.
Let's get in.
All right, man. First up for this week's first fun campaign, we have the CircuitMess Batmobile, a DIY AI-powered smart robot car. That is absolutely a mouthful. Name,
I would pick that just because it says CircuitMess. I love
such
that.
a mouthful, but I'll be honest, dude. AI-powered Batmobile. We are in the future.
It looks like it's a little narrow. It looks like it could fit through like an alley in a cartoon. You know?
Yeah, I mean, this may be like the original style Batmobile, not the later stage ones. You know, that might be why.
Maybe.
Dude, this is so cool, though. I gotta say, I saw this thing and I was like, all right, well, first off, I love Batman. I love the OG Batman. I remember being a kid and having like a little Batmobile. This, though, flashing lights, remote controlled,
look at those
AI.
Wheels.
This is the Batmobile of the future. This is the Batmobile we need.
Tyler, I hate to break it to you, but you won't fit in.
I know I won't, but dude, did you see that? It will follow stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, it's like that.
It's like that dog. It's like that dog.
That's what it was, the dog.
Dude, it's probably the same people here being like, hey, people loved a dog. You know what else they love? Batman. This thing is so cool, though. I gotta say, I saw this and I was enthralled. I don't necessarily know that I would buy this for myself because I don't know. I feel like people would look at me weird if I'm just playing in my house all day with a Batmobile remote control. But that being said, if I had like kids or nephews or nieces who were in the age range that they would enjoy this, this is a killer Christmas present. No question about it.
I have one problem with that little video with the ball.
What's that?
Why would you use a ball and not a Joker
Oh my
figure?
gosh, could you imagine, man? That would be sick.
That would be so cool.
Dude, like, this is just so intense. Like, I'm impressed with where we've gone in the world. Part of me is sitting there being like, oh my god, did we really need an AI-powered Batman? But the other part of me is sitting here being like, shut up, yeah, we did. Like, come on, this is amazing.
How much is this thing?
Let's see.
$99.
Dude,
all tools included.
$100. This is cheaper than half of the Lego sets you see and 10 times cooler. Like, I love Legos, but this is awesome.
Wait, what's this 139 one? You get a
temperature and humidity sensor, a flashlight, a gyroscope, air pressure, extender, and RGB LED grid. So
for $39, you get all that extra. Good lord, look at that!
You get the tool pack in this one, a soldering pro module, a prototype board.
That's cool.
My gosh, man! So this thing is really made for that like creator and that maker space where you can get it and just play with it on its own. But at the same time, if you're technically inclined, you could like probably customize this thing and do so much other really cool stuff.
It's a circuit mess.
And if you're looking for something to bond over with your kids, $289 for 2. Dude, this thing is so cool. Like I'm thoroughly impressed with where a lot of the technology is going these days. I mean, just that I was impressed by the LEDs under the thing. The fact that you can add an LED board under it. The fact that there's AI involved with it. Like, this is intense. This is also, though, literally the longest campaign ever.
Oh my god, dude, it's
still going. When we were talking about it before, dude, we were only right here. We were only a third of the way through.
Dude, that's out of control.
This is, I mean, the fact that right now we're 1/5 of the way through the campaign and they've already showed us all the tiers.
It shouldn't be called circuit mess. It should be called scrolling mess.
Campaign mess. No, dude, this is a dope campaign. I mean, dude, 2,000 people jumping on board with this thing. If you're looking for something for Christmas this year, hopefully, I don't know what time it's fulfilling. It looks like July. If you're looking for something for Christmas next year, jump on board with this because this thing just looks amazing.
Good luck.
And for another fun campaign this week, man, we got the secret whiteboard. Flip from work to home in one motion. So this
is like something I would pick.
I saw this and I was like, what? And the funny thing about it, I was on the fence about it at first until I saw further down and better explanation. A, this is 100% a COVID-driven invention. I think that's great to see.
Oh, yeah.
B, I've never been in a situation where I've been like, oh man, I need to covertly hide my whiteboard, or oh man, it's time to switch off. I need to get rid of my whiteboard. That's fine.
Dude, it's messy. You have all writing and stuff all over
and that's what I was going to say.
and...
For some people, I think I'm more like comfortable with mess. So I think some people, this is a great thing for them. So at first, the reason I was not on board with this is I thought that it was only this small piece was the whiteboard. But then I noticed you open it and it's actually a pretty good size whiteboard that you can...
It's it looks like a standard size whiteboard.
Art can be swapped in and out, so you could customize the art that goes in there. Magnetic whiteboard. Like, I thought this was just really kind of clever. All things considered, I thought this was a really clever design behind it. The one thing I will say is at the early bird price of $109, I'm actually going to recommend you go get the Batmobile instead. So...
I don't know, man. I like the whiteboard, and you know what? Do they sell that picture with it? Because that picture's kind of dope.
So that's a good question. The reason I'm more on the fence about this versus the Batmobile is I think if you're a creative individual, for $100 you could definitely do this yourself. If you're looking for a DIY project, you could definitely do this yourself.
Nobody wants to do it themselves. That's too much.
I disagree. There's a large DIY community. Just because you and I don't want to do it ourselves doesn't mean no. But with that in mind, for $100 saving your time to do this, it's probably a reasonable price for someone as well. But what's cooler, a hidden whiteboard or a Batmobile?
I mean, it depends on
now, Steve, there's only one right answer, and it's Batmobile.
Dude, that artwork is pretty dope.
Yes, no, the artwork I really like, and I am curious if the artwork is included with it or if it's like bring your own artwork.
I don't know. If you look up, if you go up, like right where all that shows all that.
No, so it includes a 12 by 18 print. So I'm assuming that after the fact, you can choose your own print. But that's the other thing, though, too. Look at that, $109 for a 12 by 18 one. So that's the small one. 12 by 18 is pretty small. So if you open it, you're looking at 12 by 36. Or no, you'd be looking at
24 by 36.
24 by 18. Yeah, that's still pretty small. Yeah. So if you want the large one, which is going to get you to, what are we looking at here? Large. You're looking at 20 by 30. So you'd end up getting 40 by 30, which is reasonable. That's what you'd have to go for. You'd be looking at 175 bucks.
Yeah. You know, I mean, but ultimately, how much do you pay for a framed matte painting?
I mean,
or picture.
For a framed matte print, you can find them anywhere from $10 to a couple $100. It depends, really.
Yeah, it depends. $10.
Yeah, hands down. If you go to some art places where they're just trying to move prints, you can get a print at least for $10. The frame may cost you a little more, but you could also get a cheap frame at Michael's for $40.
Yeah, so, for sure. And a cheap mat. So yeah, no, for
it
sure.
depends.
150 bucks.
Yeah, it really is a reasonable price point. Hands down a reasonable price point. I think if I had seen this before the Batmobile, I wouldn't have been torn. So definitely a cool campaign though, and I really like the ingenuity that's coming out of COVID. It's good to see positivity and innovative aspects coming out of COVID. So really cool campaign. Good luck on this one. Secret Whiteboard. I love the name of it too, because who doesn't want who doesn't want like secret aspects of their house? Everyone wants a bookshelf, you know, hidden door. This is your first step towards it. So
yeah.
And for Steve's first fun campaign this week, we have the Flic Twist, the wireless dial for your smart home.
Flic Twist.
Oh my god.
Dude, I just love stuff like this. You know, anything to, I mean, I'm surprised you didn't pick this. You know, you kind of like this stuff too, but honestly, I'm going to be really honest. At first, I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I clicked in it and I pressed play on this video and I'm like, oh, this is so corny. I
feel like this is right up your alley though, too, because it's like a mock crime scene. Yeah,
like,
this is what sold you. Yeah, dude, I saw 100%. It too, and I was gonna pick it, and I was like, I can't pick any more smart devices for a couple more weeks. And then when you picked it, I was like, interesting.
So cool, dude. And that intro is so terrible. It's
oh my god, those are the fun ones though. Like that's when you see like a horrible commercial, but it sticks with you.
Yeah, no, that's so funny. I mean, I think they did it on purpose, you know. But I mean, I just love having that control over everything with especially one dial, you know. And it's not that bad, $80.
Yeah, that's really,
or actually, $90
that's really not too bad considering some of the switches you pay, like simple toggle switches cost you $40-50 in a smart home configuration. I like the versatility of it though, the fact that you can push, you can rotate, or do both for different actions, which is really cool.
Yeah, definitely, and it's sleek. You know, it kind of looks like your Nest.
I think that is the one thing that might be difficult for this though, is you have to have the right styling in your home. Like if you have a very traditional like Victorian home, I don't think you'd be throwing this on the wall, you know?
Oh, for sure. Definitely. But I think if you have a nice Victorian home, you're probably not going to get into stuff like this and have LED lights set up.
Yeah, you never know. Smart people like smart homes, so... And they like Victorian homes sometimes too, but this is really pretty interesting. I gotta say, I like that whole concept there.
Oh, they have a black one too.
Yeah, no, that's very sleek looking.
Right there.
And it almost looks like, I'm curious what the little like things around the edge are though. Are those like LEDs that like act as a night light?
At night? Might be.
Because you can see like here, it looks like when they're turning it, the lights light up there. It may just be a aspect of it so it shows like visual indication, but I wonder if it doubles as a night light.
Yeah, I don't know. Brightness and color job toggle nightlight.
Yeah,
there you go.
But I wonder if that means like toggle like a nightlight, because the other thing it says is like window blinds, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't come with blinds.
Oh, right, yeah.
But no, it's a really interesting concept. The other interesting thing about it, which I think is really, you know, not surprising in this day and age, no microphones, no cameras, no cloud. At the end of the day, I wouldn't expect a light switch to have a microphone or a camera, but if you're in the smart home environment, the no cloud aspect is actually a really big deal, because you don't want your smart home impacted by someone else's systems. So really cool, really nice design there, and it looks like it already integrates with a lot of different aspects. It'd be nice to see it integrate with like Home Assistant, which is a big one, but very cool.
Maybe eventually.
Yeah, I mean, it's open source, so it may be that someone who gets this builds it out for it, you know?
Yeah. Got Alexa,
yeah,
so I'm
dude,
good.
31, almost 3,200 people are on board with this, which is awesome. So, good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
And for another fun campaign this week, we have the Mothership Sci-Fi Horror RPG First Edition boxed set.
Dude, this is my first RPG.
I'm excited, man.
And the reason, you know what? I picked it. I thought of you. I knew you would like it. It was kind of up my alley because it has like thriller, horror, killing in it, and you know me. I thought it was really cool.
What's really interesting, I gotta say, for a pretty what you would expect to be a visual campaign, this thing has a lot of text.
It really does, and it doesn't have a lot of stuff that I see in a lot of the other games, like the little miniatures and a ton of dice and things like that. But it's definitely priced well compared to those things, and probably because it doesn't come with all those crazy extras.
I love the fact that it's very black and white. It's very minimalist in that aspect, and that does tie in with the campaign.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I was surprised it's pulled in almost $1 million based on what it looks like. That monotone color. It doesn't come with a ton of stuff, which tells me it was done properly. That people still love, the aspect.
So people love tabletop games. The other, I think, big thing for it too is it looks like 8-time creator. So Alan Girding here is probably someone who has created some other highly successful campaigns. I mean, yeah, take a look at this. You see 113 up to 3,800, 16, 37. So he's built a very solid following to come to this campaign. So even without necessarily all the visual flash, this really has a great draw there.
9,000 backers.
That's awesome.
Dude. And he's backed over 1,000.
Which is, dude, honestly, that's one of the things I love to see, and I bet you a lot of them are from the tabletop gaming space, because you can see he's passionate about it. He's not only doing research on it, he probably loves to play them. I mean, go to this dude's house, he's probably living in a house made of tabletop games. But definitely a very cool one. You know, very a cool campaign, man. I gotta say, that was this was an unexpected one from you. When you sent me the link for this, I was like, did you miss Flic? Steve RPGs?
I was just I was inspired by you, Tyler, and you know, it just happens.
We'll get you playing Dungeons and Dragons before long. Don't you worry.
I don't know about that, but I can pick them.
We'll have to see. But I gotta say, man, this is a dope campaign. Good luck to Alan here. Really crushing it.
Good luck.
Dude, so this was a really interesting week. I think we did a great job with these fun campaigns, man. Between the Batmobile, I think it's funny because I think the secret whiteboard and the Switch were probably the most boring out of them. They were both still pretty awesome. So,
I don't think the Switch was boring, buddy.
Okay. I mean, it's a light Switch. What could be more boring?
I know.
But that being said, it was no Batmobile. If they could integrate that into the Batmobile, I'd definitely be on board for both.
Yeah, good luck with that.
I always love seeing what we pick for these fun campaigns, because you know what? It's great to see all of the stuff that's on Kickstarter that isn't just playing cards. You know, there's such a wide world of Kickstarter there, and it's really interesting to see how people build out these campaigns. What we say is a long playing card campaign is probably short in the scheme of all these other aspects. So really scrolling through a 30-minute campaign, I'm sure people are a lot more patient with those in other niche markets there.
Yeah, I mean, they're so mechanical and there's so much involved that they, I guess, take the time and dive into.
It's great, but the one thing they all are really good at, they know how to build a story, and that's what I love about them. Absolutely.
Definitely true.
And as always, we'd love to hear what you plan on backing this week, whether it be an AI-powered Batmobile, a deck of cards, a secret whiteboard, or anything under the sun. Drop a comment down below and let us know what exciting finds you found on Kickstarter or any crowdfunding site for that matter. Drop it down below and let us know. And while you're at it, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel.
Peace out.